Jen. How much of this latest free fall is a Papa Charlie issue? How much of it is internal? I know we just had the closed doors players only meeting that George Springer called. It was nice to see that he did it, but that was Friday, and we haven't really seen any sort of injection of anything into this team since then. So
I don't know how often those players only meetings take place, but that's the second one this season, right? So
yeah.
that doesn't sound like it bodes well. And I mean, so I saw somebody, Josh Hausum, post some stats. But if since June 1st, now today's been a little bit of a different story, or the last couple of days, but I looked up the statistics today. Since June 1st, George Springer has been slashing 205, 299, 419. Bo Bichette has been slashing 248, 320, 22, 408. And his overall weighted runs created plus is 99. So those are 1 and 2 at the top of the lineup. Those are the guys getting the most at bats. And so I don't know how, like, on the one hand, I understand the mentality of sticking with these guys, and George Springer has always been a leadoff hitter, and, you know, so on and so forth. And you want to show that you have faith in them as players. I understand that mentality. The other side of that is they're not hitting. They are not hitting like a number 1 and a number 2 hitters. And so that, I would say, is the only thing perhaps that could be put on Charlie, is changing the lineup construction, changing the order of the lineup. Beyond that, if guys are underperforming, and let's be honest, a lot of the offense is simply underperforming. I don't see how that is something that Charlie can control. I don't see how that lands on his shoulders.
I do agree. I think the lineup is too rigid. I think we're just stuck with this idea that Springer needs to be leading off every day and that Bo needs to be 2 and Vlad 3. When really, we need to see Lourdes up higher in the lineup when he's hot, because he's always getting hits. You see Kirk even higher, Teo lower, depending on how he's doing. I don't know, like the Mariners, like their lineup has been switching up all year, and it's been working for them. So, but they do need to be better. Vladdy, I mean, he's hitting well, but
it's underwhelming.
He came second in the MVP voting last year. Bo Bichette is below league average as well as Springer. And when you're getting good performances from Biggio and Espinal early in the year and not quite using them properly, I think they got to start riding hot streaks. They just can't be letting these guys go cold at the top of the lineup.
I see a lot of nodding from Joel and Garth.
That's my one bad thing about Montoyo so far this year.
The word I was looking for earlier was identity, right? Like, our team's identity seems to have been lost. That, like, happy going, everybody's happy all the time from last season. You look over at the team and they're all in a funk, and that funk is, spread. And the idea that the lineup, I've hated the rigid lineup since day one. I don't like that at all. I hate that Springer leads off, hits solo home runs, and then, like, yesterday's game, 1 home run is hit. It's a solo home run because nobody's getting on for him at the bottom of the lineup. There's inconsistency. Nobody's protecting George Springer because you've got, a random guy filling in that 9 spot. It was good when Biggio had a 380 on base and they put him in the 9 spot. So at least you've got somebody on base for Springer there. But the idea of the lineup being so rigid and that you feel a need that there's 4 guys who have to be 1, 2, 3, 4 in the lineup just makes no sense. Like, earlier in the season, you play the hot hand in those top 3 hitters, right? Early in the season, Espinal was a 360 on base guy. You wasted him in the 8 spot. Now it seems like Biggio's a really good on base guy. He's not getting the amount of starts that he needs right now. It's just like, we're so rigid in our construction of that lineup that.
So how is this not Charlie Montoyo's fault then. He makes the lineup. Like I'm not hearing I'm hearing a lot of like, well, the guys are slumping and the lineup is rigid, but like for me these are all manager problems. Like if guys are slumping, like we need someone to come in, kick some ass and do something. Like we've just been lazy and lethargic and like sluggish. Hot streaks bedamned, cold streaks bedamned. I don't know what it is, but it's like this is where you need a manager. And if George Springer's calling players only meetings, for me, I mean, the second one of the year, not a good sign, right? Also, it's telling me that like Montoyo's not doing it. A players only
Well, he
meeting,
can't call a players only meeting.
Thanks, Jen. I mean,
sorry.
He's not doing what it takes to get this team get their fucking heads out of their asses, right? Like for me, that feels like George Springer's frustrated with the fact that like something needs to be done, and so they're taking it on themselves. On the one hand, it's good that you have leadership in the clubhouse, but it also, for me, shows a little bit of a void on the level above them. Jen, I'll let you
people
go.
said the same thing about John Gibbons, that he was too much of a player's manager. He was a little too laissez-faire, let the players run the clubhouse type of thing. And now there are people who want to bring him back in favor of firing Charlie, right? So I think
I'm not saying John Gibbons is the solution, but
I'm just saying it's a lot of it I think is rhetoric, but I think Joel and I are both saying that Charlie absolutely should shake up the lineup, and that is something that he can control. But regardless of where you put Springer in the lineup, regardless of where you put Bo in the lineup, regardless of where you put any of these guys in the lineup, if they are not performing at the level that they should be performing, I don't think that is on Charlie.
What is the real tangible difference between this free fall and the free fall the Los Angeles Angels had that led to the dismissal of Joe Madden? I know that was a 12-game streak of losses, but for me, it feels like the same. This is a team with 3 superstars. This is a team who, on paper, came into the season, should have been a playoff contender, was in free fall mode.
If you think our pitching depth is bad, you should look at the Angels roster because their team fell apart. And It's not really Joe Madden's fault, but he was the fall guy for that.
So this is the similarity that I'm trying to draw here with Charlie Montoyo. And I'm not trying to say we should fire Charlie Montoyo. I know there isn't just like an easy solution out there, but like at some point, something's got to be done. Overpay for pitching.
I think that this is a very meticulous front office.
Yep.
Everything is in the details. They do not make rash decisions. They haven't done it since they got here. So I don't think Charlie's going anywhere this season. But his seat's getting warm.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is getting on the hot seat. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, he's probably gone. And I saw this on Twitter. People are like, "Oh, well, you're overreacting by saying that." Why? Like people were predicting the Jays to be like up there for a World Series title this year, and we are looking like a middling club. We had an 8-game win streak in June. You take that away, that 8 days. You take that away, we're 4 games under 500. We're not a good team right now. And the rigidity of the lineup, yes, I'm glad that players are taking some accountability and holding their own meetings, but what can Springer say? Hey, Adam Simber, develop a 100-mile-an-hour fastball for the pen? You know what I mean? Like, hey, Bo, quit booting, easy plays at shortstop and, maybe get your on-base percentage up over 297. Like, there's only so much that those types of, those are more like raw, things are tough, but we're going to come out of it sort of meetings. They're not there's not much they can do. But I mean, Charlie has just been adamant about, I don't even have a big problem with Springer leading off. He's always done it. He has a great track record. But Bo Bichette hitting in the 2-hole with a 297 on base percentage is killing this team, killing them. You can't have him batting that high. I'm sorry. And that's on Charlie. And those are the types of things that get managers fired when you fail to adapt to the situation that's been put in front of you.
Could be Lourdes right now.
The Bo Bichette hitting second feels to me like a, I don't want to say personal favor, but Bo Bichette come arbitration talks gets to led the MLB in hits on his case, right? He gets to put top 5 in the MLB in hits on his case, right? All the other stats can be good, but there's nothing that goes to your arbitration case quite like awards and leading the league in any particular category. So for me, that feels like a big reason why Bo Bichette's still hitting second on this team. Is he's a contender to lead the MLB in hits anytime he's hitting second. If we move him down the lineup, how many at-bats does it take away from him over the course of a year? I don't know. Maybe 50 if we move him down to 5th or 6th now.
Are the Blue Jays in the business of getting the most money for Bo in arbitration?
No.
Or are they in the business of winning games?
This is my point, though. This is my point, is that it feels like something needs to be done. Like that's the only argument for him hitting second still, is if as a buddy, like as a Papa Charlie type relationship, like, don't worry, Bo, I got your back, right? We're going to get you an extra $1 million come arbitration time. I could see Jen's already cringing. I know this is an oversimplification of what it is, but it's a microcosm of what's going on with this team, I think. And I do think that there's some truth to that, is that maybe it is a little too player friendly. I don't know. We can move on from here unless anybody else has something strong they want to add on the Charlie Montoyo hot seat. But Jen?
I am not sitting here necessarily advocating that he keep his job or whatever. I think a lot of times, if not most often, when a manager gets fired, they are the scapegoat. You can't get rid of all of the players, right? The front office isn't going to fire themselves. And so it's the manager or the hitting coach or whoever who is sort of that sacrificial lamb, if you will, right? We've done something. Here's what we've done. And I don't know that it's always the fair move. I understand why the move gets made, but it does not necessarily actually isolate and fix the problem, right? This lineup, and I don't mean the order, I just mean the players, was constructed in a certain way. The front office went out and signed Kikuchi, right? The front office, whatever, there's a lot of blame to go around for the fact that this team is in the position that it is in versus where they thought they would be when the season started. There's enough blame to go around that, like I said, sure, fire Charlie. And if he's being completely inflexible with the lineup, if they're asking him to change it and he's just flat out refusing, okay, but I don't think that's then all of a sudden this team goes on a run.